I'm Fiona Mackay, I'm a Service Manager with the Education and Children's Services with Perth and Kinross Council. I'm involved with the Tayside Plan, Priority Group 1 and Priority Group 3. The event was organised because there's a recognition that to deliver something as ambitious as the Tayside Plan, we really need to support the workforce development elements of that as well, and that's workforce at all levels, including senior management and the leads for the priority groups. So we've put on this event to try and begin to scope out what the collaboration support is needed.
One of the drivers as well for bringing people together was that we knew that people were absolutely sold on and bought into the 5 big priorities that we'd identified in the collaborative. And we'd also identified that those priorities were priorities that already existed for all of the partners. And what we really wanted to do was to understand, by bringing people together, where might we be able to help streamline things for people, provide clarity about things like the level of authority that existed within each of the priority groups, where could decisions be made and by who. And it was about providing that kind of clarity, bringing people together, hearing from them firsthand what their issues were, but hearing what was working well so that we could share the learning from what was working well and work collectively together to, as I say, to break down any barriers or to find different ways of doing things that was more effective.
Well, we structured the tables so that they were participants from different groups were meeting together, and that was really useful because it was people who didn't necessarily know each other from beforehand. So I think what made me very enthusiastic was the fact that people still had shared goals to get out of what we were doing, both on the day but also going forward. What struck me was it's the first time that people had come together and were sharing information about what they were focusing on, and that was allowing people then to think, oh, where's my role in that going forward? So communication and good linkage of understanding was probably what was absolutely key and came out on the day.
It's been really exciting. It's been good for me as a new member of that group to get a sense of who's involved, the work that we've been doing up until now, and the level of enthusiasm around making a difference for children and families in Tayside. Yeah, for me there's definitely something that we need to think about around the connect between the work that we're doing as part of the regional collaborative and our connect with communities, making sure that we hear from people and that people influence the work that's happening in the groups, so that we can take the development of the next phase of the plan to a different level.
Well, I really enjoyed it. I didn't know quite what I was coming to today. I hadn't been to any of these events before, but I felt it was really productive, really useful to see what was happening with all the other priority groups as well as the one I'm part of. So I've made some really good links with people who are sitting in other priority groups, but actually there's some cross-cutting themes with my day-to-day work. So I'll be able to follow that up when I go back, so even regardless of the priority group, it's helped me in my day-to-day role. But there's a few things come out of it that I think I'll be able to take back to the priority group and add into our action plan as well.
I think it was really helpful to be able to come together, to be thinking about what parts of the Tayside Regional Improvement Collaborative really influences the services that we're able to provide for children and families in the area, but also how that overlaps from the whole of the Tayside, and thinking from service level right up to strategic level about how that the shared vision really improves chances. I think the key thing that we all recognise is relationships, and being able to have that face-to-face conversations with people in the other areas. And we are a large geographical area when you think of Tayside. We've got some real key aspirational visions to be taken forward as well. And we can't do that unless we know each other. I would definitely be coming for another event like this. I think what it really helps us to be able to do is show that motivation to be able to take this plan forward. And it is an aspirational plan, but to be able to move things forward, we have to all be together in the room to share that vision.
I think what's really important is that we live in a world where we can really readily communicate with people by a whole load of means, but not necessarily be in the same room as them. So you can email, you can tweet, you can go on all sorts of social media and do all of that. but there's a real power and strength, I think, in bringing people physically together, and what you get is a real honesty and a real sort of jackets off, sleeves rolled up, getting to grips with the actual nitty-gritty of it all. So what we really said right at the beginning was, tell us what's working well, tell us what's not going so well, and importantly, tell us what your solutions would be to those things that you think are not going well. That was really the three main areas that we'd asked people to identify. And what the feedback said was they would like greater clarity around just what decisions could be taken within each of those groups and by who. I think the second most commented outcome was that people felt that the Tayside Collaborative was very influential in the local area and across Scotland, and that they wanted to make sure that their voices were heard, not just locally, but in terms of shaping that national agenda. And unsurprisingly, the third thing that came out, we need to be doing things better or smarter or differently. And so the whole notion of how they evaluate the work that they're doing was something that they really want to focus on, and then provide that information, that evaluative information, widely so that people understand the progress that's been made. Working in collaboration is great, but it's also really challenging because it requires a lot of compromise, sometimes a bit of sacrifice, but I think coming together like that really helped people understand, as I say, that big picture and what they were all working towards and where their place was in that. And one of the final things that came out of the day was a strong desire that that's not the last event, that we do something just to allow them to meet and talk and share and learn.